What's going on, guys? JC here. What I'm bringing you guys today is a modding video on Arma Reforger's engine. So normally I do a lot of DayZ modding, creating custom clothing, creating the billboards, the whole nine. I've done servers for days. I've done a lot of YouTube videos on how to basically modify DayZ in multiple ways. I'll leave a playlist below, but I've recently got into playing around and creating Arma Reforger servers and modding Arma Reforger, and I've been having a blast. So the reason I'm making this video is because there is this Zeliks loot spawners, and essentially what it does is you can create static loot spawns within Arma Reforger to give it that DayZ feel. So those of you who play around with Arma Reforger, you'll know that it was never designed to have static loot spawns. It's more designed for scenario type gameplays. But Zeliks is a absolute legend and has created a way to basically have static loot spawns. The only downside to this is it's not advanced enough to the point where you can tie it to a building like you can within DayZ. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to actually get this mod working. Searching around YouTube, I could not figure it out. There's like no videos. There's nothing on how to actually get it to work. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to actually get this to work. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come to your Steam and you're going to need Arma Reforger tools. If you don't know how to get your Arma Reforger tools, essentially you have to, of course, have Arma Reforger. Make sure you have your tools checked. Once you check your tools, you'll be able to come down to Arma Reforger, and then you will see your Arma Reforger tools. Make sure you install this. This is just like DayZ. The good thing is here you don't have to actually you don't have to mount any, you don't have to mount your P drive. There's no extracting game data, nothing like that. Honestly, these tools are 100 times better than DayZ tools. I absolutely love these tools. But once you get the tools installed, you're going to go ahead and launch the tools. You're not going to have anything like this. So what you're going to want to do first is you're going to come to your documents, and then you're going to come to your let's see here, your documents. You're going to go to My Games. Once you launch the Arma Reforger and the Arma Reforger tools, you're going to have two folders inside. You're going to need to go to the workshop in the game, and you're going to need to subscribe to this mod right here, the Zeliks loot spawners. Once you subscribe to the mod, it'll be in this folder on your Arma Reforger folder. You're going to come here, you're going to go to your add-ons, and then essentially you're just going to find Zeliks loot spawners, which will be down here. All you're going to do is just hover over the folder. You're going to copy it, and then you want this folder inside your Reforger's workshop add-ons folders. So once it's in this folder, you'll be good to go. You can then create a new project, and once you create a new project, you'll be able to open with add-ons, and then you just choose Zeliks loot spawners. Or if you wanted to, when you create a new project, in fact, I'll do it for you right now. Let's just call this YouTube test. You'll see you can come down here and you just check Zel loot spawners like so, hit create, it will go into it, and then the mod will be loaded. So once we're in here, we're going to need to create a scene. Essentially, we're going to need to create something that we can actually work with. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to come to basically Arma Reforger. We're going to come down to, where is she? Worlds. We're going to come down to Eden. And then we're going to open up the Eden.ent. Now, if you want to do an Arland map, you would do Arland. If you want to do, for instance, Chernarus, you have to load the Chernarus one, and then you open up that one. So whatever map you want to do, this is how you have to do it. For tutorial sake, we're going to do Eden. So you're going to open up the Eden.ent. And then depending on your computer, this can take up to, I've seen it take like 6-7 minutes to load. But essentially what you're doing right now is you're downloading all of the data and the entire map for Eden. So once this is loaded, we now have a map that we can go in and we can start editing. But before we do this, what we're going to need to do now is we have to come up here to create a new world, and we want to create a subscene of the current world. Okay, so once we create this subscene of the current world, this is just going to take a couple seconds, like I said, based on your computer on how long this is going to take. But basically what this is doing is this is creating layers. Think of it as layers in like Photoshop. So you have the base map, and then what we're doing is we're creating layers on top of this map. So now when we're working inside this unnamed, is what we currently have it right now, which this will be changed as soon as we save the world. We're going to save our world. We're going to create a, right here under core, you see YouTube test. We're going to create a new folder. We're going to call this world, just like they do, worlds. And then we're going to save this, and we're going to say YouTube test and hit OK. So now that this is called our YouTube test, this has been saved. If we close this down, we can see our YouTube test folder right here. We bring this down, we go to the worlds, we go to our layers. I'm sorry, go to the worlds. Then you have YouTube test. Once again, this loads. This will be our edit of the world. So I just wanted to get that out of there, get that out of the way. If you didn't know how to create a subscene, if you did, then you didn't need this part. You just kind of need to know how to get the loot to spawn. But now that we've got our layer done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. We're going to create a layer, and I'm going to call this loot. And then we have our default layer. You can rename this to just like base. Like, so this is like your, or like yeah, just base stuff. So this is where I put all of my good stuff, like my game modes, my crap that you actually need to get a layer going. So the first thing what you're going to want to do is whenever you first join it, and the first time you do it, it's going to look like this right here. This will allow you to grab anything from any layer. You're going to want to click this button, and you're going to want to select from active layer only. That way I don't accidentally grab any of this crap, because you don't want to do that. And then to base on whatever layer you're working in, you just double click the layer. So this will be my loot layer. If I double click this will be my base layer, so on and so forth. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need some sort of game mode. So let's go to Arma Reforger. We're going to come down here to, let's see here. Whoops. Come on down to, I think it's prefabs. You're going to go to MP for multiplayer. You're going to go to modes. And then these are your different game modes that you can spawn. So you have a conflict game mode. You have a team deathmatch style game mode. Editor, which would be like game master type game mode, and then you have a plain game mode. If you're trying to mimic a DayZ style, which is what I'm doing, then you're going to want the plain game mode. So go into here, and we're just going to drag this in. So this is now our game mode. This is where you can edit all of your game mode components. Kind of good stuff. The next thing you're going to need is you're going to need a hit register. So you type in just hit reg, bring that in there. You're going to need a perception manager. And then we're also going to need an AI worlds. You're going to need a SCR AI world. Just drag that in like so. And then this is basically what you need for a just standard game mode. This is kind of like the base stuff right here. So now if you really wanted to, you could then create another subscene of this world, but I don't feel the need to, but basically so you don't have to do all of this crap again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this. Say here's our loot spawn layer, right? So we're going to come down here to Zel loot spawners. We're going to go to our prefabs. We have our spawners, and then you'll see we have a static loot spawner, and then we have a tiered loot spawner. So I'm going to explain what these do a little bit. Also, we need to drag these into our loot. Sorry. And then let's double click on our loot. So now we can't grab any of this crap. So this will be our, let's make this a little bit bigger so we can kind of read it. This is our tiered loot spawner. So what a tiered loot spawner does, if we come into our configs, a weapon tier config. So this is essentially, I don't like how it says tiered. It's not necessarily what it is. What it is it's basically a loot pool. Okay. So you'll see we have a PM and we have an M9, and both of them are at 100% chance. But if we were to set them both to a 50% chance, that means when this loot spawner works, it has a 50% chance to spawn one of these two items. Okay. Now, if we go to this one, which is just a static loot spawner, it's the same thing. We click on the static loot spawner. We let's see here. This right here, if you look over here on the right side where it says loot, prefab to spawn is a rifle M21R2. So it's essentially only going to spawn this one item. Again, if we click on our tiered one, if we come here, we go to our configs, it will pull from a config. So essentially, if you want, for instance, if we come to this place right here, this industrial place, all right, let's delete these real quick. And right here on inside, like on this park bench, for instance, if you want, let's go back to our spawners. If you want an assault rifle to always spawn right here on this workbench, then you're going to use the static loot spawner. But if you want a pool of items, a chance to have an item, then you are going to use your tiered. So now you're asking, JC, how do we get it to spawn? This is the trick. So what you're going to do is you're going to come to your, because for instance, right now, if we can even choose this, and let's go to the AK-74. Okay. So right here, AK-74 ENT, we hit OK. That's what's supposed to spawn. We hit save. If we come here to play from camera position and we hit play, you'll notice that there's not going to be anything spawning here. Like nothing will be here. And it's really, really, really aggravating. As you can see, there's a virtual machine. There's a script error. We come over here. There's nothing at all. So what you need to do, and this is a vital step, what you're going to need to do is you need to add the script into your game mode plugin, into your base game mode that actually calls for this to work. So we're going to come over here to game mode plane. We're going to come here to add component. We're going to type in Zel, and you'll see you have this Zel world validation component. So we're going to add this bad boy in. Now that it's down at the bottom, let's go ahead and save. Remember, we have this as a static loot spawn to spawn this rifle in. Let's go ahead and hit play again from the world. And we currently have it at a 30-second respawn delay. So if we've done this right, within 30 seconds of us standing here, it should spawn something in. So let's see. As you can see, there we go. We now have a gun here, it's just acting very weird, but it's there. I think it's just acting weird because of where we have it placed. Once we pick it up, if we wait another 30 seconds, another one will spawn. So let's sit here and wait. There we go. So that right there is how you go around and you set the static loot spawns. So say you don't want it to be static. Say you want it to pull from a variety of things. Well, I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. So this is the part that's just a little bit tricky in a sense. So what you're going to do is, let's go ahead and save. You always want to save. We're going to close this down for right now. So we're going to go to Zel loot spawners. As you can see, they have theirs under prefabs, and then they have spawners, and then they also have configs, and then weapons. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here. So we're going to come here. We're going to see Zel loot spawners, and we're going to see how they have theirs set up. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on their configs folders, right? So let's come into configs, weapons, and then we are going to duplicate to YouTube test, and we're going to call it clothing tier 1. We're then going to go back. We're going to duplicate this to YouTube test, weapons tier 1, which is fine. And then we're going to come back here one more last time, and we're going to duplicate this to our test. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to go to spawners. I like doing this myself. And then I do this again. I'm going to duplicate this to test. I'm going to come back here, and then we're going to duplicate this. So essentially what this is doing is instead of going into Zel's loot spawners, we're now all of this is inside our folders, or like, you know, our mission set essentially. So when we come into here, we can now lower this down. We open up our YouTube test. You'll see we have configs, weapons, and they're no longer locked. And then we also have our prefabs, our spawners, which are no longer locked. So let's go ahead and delete this one because we don't need this one anymore. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into our configs and this weapons tier 1. Okay. So if we open this up, we'll see that it's just the 2 handguns essentially. But say we want one that has handguns and rifles together. So what you're going to do is you're going to click this little plus up here. We're going to click this. We're going to go to the Arma Reforger. Let's just type in rifles. Let's bring it down. Say we want the Mini 14 in this one. So we hit OK. We name this M14. And then we're going to drop this to like say a 45% chance. And then we also want, let's add one more. Say in the same loot pool, we want to have the PKM, right? So let's just type in the PKM. Let's come down here to weapons. Here's our PKM. We hit OK. And say this is going to be at like a 35% chance. We name this PKM. And we're good. We're going to close this. We're going to save it. We're going to come back into here. So that right there is our weapons tier 1. So let's rename this. And let's call this just weapons, for instance. So that's just our weapons config. Again, if we go back into it, this will have the PM, the M9, the Mini 14, and the PKM. Say on our clothing one, we want to edit this. This right now only has a BDU jacket. But say we want to add another, say we want to add a backpack to it. So let's just come in here. We're just going to type in backpack. This will have the backpack, the Alice medium. So we're going to hit OK, and we're going to set it to like a 50% chance. And let's just type this Alice bag. Keep in mind, nothing gets spaces. Everything, if you're going to do a space, you do an underscore. Then we're going to add another backpack. Let's see here. I think we have like a medical one, right? Whoops, if I could spell it right. Yeah, right here. Let's do this backpack too. Actually, you know what? Let's do this one. So we hit OK. We'll make this one like another. You play around with the percentages yourself, and then we'll just call this the KOLO, the Kolobach. That's how we're good. So let's go ahead and hit save, and then hit yes. We want to save the changes. And we can actually now close out of, cancel that. We can now come back into here, okay? So here's our clothing. Here's our weapons. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into ours. We'll go into prefabs, spawners, and we're going to have a tiered loot spawn. Now what I like to do is I like to rename this. If you want to rename this, you can. And I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to type this. Actually, hold on. Yeah, we're going to type this, and we're going to call this our clothing spawner. Oh, crap. Again, no spaces. Clothing spawner. All right, so there's our clothing spawner. And then we're going to do another one right over here. We're going to rename this, and let's just call this weapons. Just for the ease of the tutorial. So our weapons, we're going to come down here, and we want to get rid of both of these configs. We don't want it. So let's delete it. We only want one config, and we're going to call it to our, this is a weapons one, so we're going to go into our config, our weapons, and we want the weapons config. We hit OK. We're going to come here to the clothing spawner. We're going to do the same thing. Let's delete both of these. So there's just one, and then we're going to, same thing, clothing. Now, the way you want to lay your folders out, totally up to you. So we hit that, we hit OK, we're going to hit save, and then we're going to play from the game again. Or just playing from the camera view. If you guys want a tutorial on how to actually set up loot spawns and all of that stuff for characters and like how to actually get a playing game, let me know in the comments and we'll make that happen. So now once we're in game, like I said, we have them both to a 30-second cooldown. So once we wait 30 seconds, you'll see that we now have a BDU jacket and we have a pistol. So if we pick both of these items up and we wait 30 seconds, more loot should spawn. Any day now. There they go. So we have another pistol, and this time we actually have a backpack. So if we pick that up and we pick this up, just to prove it works, we'll wait the 30 seconds again, but we know for sure it's going to spawn more items in. Again, you can go in and you can change the percentage values of what item you want to spawn over another item. That's totally acceptable. If you want backpacks to be a higher chance, or if you want the PKM to be rare, however you want it, that's how you do it. But as you can see, there's the PM, which is probably still at 100% chance. The BDU jacket's still pretty. Actually, you know what? I can guarantee you those are both really high percentages, and that's why those are the items that are spawning. But it does work. It does work. The only downside to this, like I said, is you actually have to go through and manually set all of your loot spawns. So, for instance, if you want to go to, we'll go to Levy, and you want, the way I have my server set up is inside the towns, it's all civilian clothings. So I went into here, into my configs, I have another one that says clothing, and when I go into it, I have my civilian clothing, and then I also have military clothing. I have different, tiered spawners. So in these buildings, I set civilian stuff, and then in the military stuff, I set military stuff. So that's essentially how you do it. This video was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. I tried to be short, sweet, and to the point. That little error that I was getting it's not a big deal. It's because of the AI world. You don't need to. I mean, you're going to need to do this. It's this one. Let me delete this one. You don't want the AI world. You just want just this one. That's what that error was that I was getting. You're not going to get any errors with the loot spawns whatsoever. So that's essentially how you do it. And then of course, if you want to go back to it, you come here. And like I said, if you want it to where it's a guaranteed spawn of the same item, you would use the static loot spawner instead, and you would then go from there. What I would recommend doing is duplicating these. So we're going to duplicate this, and let's call this I have mine called civil clothes. And then I have another one. I duplicate it. I call it millie clothes. And then I have another one that I call civvy weapons. I have one that's handguns. Duplicate. I have my handguns spawning differently than I have my rifles. And then I have one that is called, let's duplicate another one. And then we call this millie weapons. Now, again, this is just me trying to break everything up. But now, essentially, what you can do is you can come through here. Say we do their handguns. We would come through here. We edit our configs to spawn what we want to spawn. I'll leave that totally up to you. The premises of this video is to just get you basically getting loot spawning in your game that works 100%. So if we drag all of these in here, we'll drag one of each. They're all using the same config right now, but if we just drag them all, it should be everything. We're gonna hit play from camera, and we're just going to have loot everywhere. Again, if you look down here, there's a respawn delay. If you want it to be longer, this is in seconds, so it's currently at 30 seconds. I would recommend probably 2 hours, however long you want. The shorter the time, the more loot you're just gonna have all over your server, and I don't think you want that. But as you can see, we've got loot. There's the PKMs, handguns, Um, it's there's just shit everywhere. But yeah, that's how you do it, guys. That's how you get loot spawning in your Arma Reforger server. And the best thing about it, it is 100% customizable. You literally choose where you want it. If you want modded items to spawn, you just have to load your tools with the modded items, and they will work just like you would with like DayZ types editing. Like I said, the only difference is you can't tie loot to a building. Not I haven't found a way yet. I've been messing with it, but you can just put these loot spawns wherever you want to go. So I hope this video helped, guys. If it did, thumbs up would be great. If you want to see a video on like how to actually get persistence to work, comment below, because that was a pain in the ass to get it worked out. But I finally got it figured out. Massive shout out to the guys over at Flexible servers. He had to help me out with the persistence. Super awesome dude. So I really appreciate that. I'm just making this video because I have yet to find any sort of video on how to do this, and I love sharing knowledge, and I've learned how to do it, and I would love to just share that knowledge with you. If you guys are interested, we have been live streaming, building a server using these tools over on my Twitch. There's a link below. You guys can drop us a follow over there. We also dual stream it over onto YouTube, so if you don't want to go to Twitch, you could watch it here on YouTube. That would be awesome. It's a learning experience, and I love learning new things, and I love sharing the things that I am learning. So, again, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thumbs up would be great. Subscription, all that kind of good stuff. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the Discord. There's a link below for that as well. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Love you, bye.